Today we are putting UV lens filters on the cutting board to see if they impact your image quality. Hello and welcome to episode number 17 of Photo Kitchen. As always, I'm your humble host, MD Welch, and today we are talking UV filters on your lenses. It is a safe bet that at some point in your photo career, you bought a lens and someone at the camera store told you to put a filter on the front of that new lens to protect the front element. Now, it could have been a clear-cut lens, but more often than not, it's probably a UV or ultraviolet filter. Of course, there are those in the photo community that think by adding any additional glass on a lens, it will diminish the image quality, and if you run a filter, it better be a high-end filter or you'll really reduce the image quality. So we're going to put that theory to the test today. I have a 35mm lens with a 55mm front diameter. I have a high-end B&W ultraviolet filter and a more economical ProMaster ultraviolet filter. The test is fairly simple because I'm not trying to find some sort of small difference that you might not ever see in your work. Instead, I am looking to see if there's a noticeable difference between no filter, an economical filter, and a higher end filter. I do want to say no matter what the test results show, I am always putting a UV filter on my lenses. I have shot roller derby, mountain biking, motocross, boxing, nightclub events, all of which are hazardous to the structural integrity of a lens. I mean, this guy's throwing cake at people. Cake! Have you ever tried to get cake and frosting out of the front of a lens? Oh man, it is good fun. The first test is simple. I am going to photograph a box of pancake mix. Now, outside of my devotion to the pancake arts,
too early for flapjacks?
This box has small printed text, and if a filter is going to soften an image or cause vignetting, we'll certainly see it here. I am shooting on a tripod at f/16 to avoid any lens issues I might get at lower apertures and to also have a high depth of field because I'm so close to the subject. My shutter speed is set to 2 seconds with an ISO of 100. I set the camera shooting mode to a 5-second timer to reduce camera shake. I also turned off steady shot, image stabilization, and the electronic shutter. I want to produce the sharpest image possible to see if there's any difference in image quality. The first shot was with no UV filter on the lens. The second is with the ProMaster, and the final shot is with the BE+W filter. If I put all three of these images up in Photoshop and match zoom and position, the results are pretty striking. And by striking, I mean I can't really tell any difference between these shots. There's a slight exposure change and maybe a shift in white balance, but nothing is screaming, "This is bad." All three images look pretty close to being identical. I then ran outside and took 3 shots to see if there was any radical flare or chromatic aberrations, and again, nothing stood out. The changes are so minimal, if I didn't know which image was which, I would have a hard time knowing if there was a filter on the lens and if that filter was expensive or not. I want to point out that when I bought the ProMaster filter, it was around $10 and the B+W filter was around $50, and I honestly can't tell the difference between the two. Now, this is a 55mm diameter filter, and maybe a larger filter like a 72 or 77mm might actually show a difference. Or maybe not. I am sure that if we got all the manufacturers together and created some ultra-scientific double-blind test, we might see a difference. But doesn't it say a lot that it requires such a high level of scrutiny to see those differences? For me, these results were enough to prove what I've already known for years. A UV or even a clear-cut glass filter is not going to radically impact my image quality. But it is going to protect the front of my lens from all manners of damage, including cake. Until next time, this is MD Welch in the Photo Kitchen, wishing you all the best.